Welcome to the show where we share the stories of the many who intersect with our healthcare system but are rarely heard from. My name is Kevin Pho, founder and editor of KevinMD. Rate and review the show at kevinmd.com/rate. Subscribe at kevinmd.com/follow. Today's show, we have Heather Awat. She is a family physician and she wrote the KevinMD article, "Don't Give Up on Intermittent Fasting Just Yet." Heather, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we'll get into your article in a little bit, but first off, briefly share your story and journey to where you are today.
Sure. I'm someone who likes variety. So when I went to medical school, I had a heart for primary care. So I went into family medicine because you get to see so many different things. And I actually worked in a variety of types of practices over the years and eventually landed in corporate medicine, got kind of burnt out, went to becoming a medical acupuncturist. And then I wanted to do something more traditional. So I was a wound care doctor in nursing homes. And that's where I was with the alpha wave of COVID, which was highly stressful as well. I did some life coaching and learned how to kind of make commitments to myself instead of just taking care of everybody else, which is kind of a doctor's problem mindset. And so then I thought, I want to have my own business. I, along the way, also had gained weight with my 4 children, done some yo-yo dieting, discovered how to optimize my own digestive hormones to lose weight, along with that commitment to myself. And so in doing that, I thought, well, let's put these two together. So now I coach professional women to lose weight for the last time. My business is Vibrant MD, and I have a Vibrant MD podcast that talks about weight loss. And so it's all virtual and online, and I'm really loving that now.
Perfect. So walk me through a typical day. Tell me about some of the patients that you may see and some of the techniques that you would use to help them lose weight.
So during a typical week for me, I'll meet with everyone one-on-one, but I'll also do some group coaching because a lot of times we have common problems that we face. We do talk a lot about optimizing our digestive hormones, making weekly goals, but there's also a lot of mindset to weight loss. Keeping commitments to yourself. We all have people in our lives that tell us what to eat, when to eat it. Every event you go to has food. So we do a lot of coaching around those really common social situations that make weight loss difficult as well.
So can you give me a story or a case study of one of your successes in terms of how you can coach someone to overcome that mindset?
Yes. So I had a woman and she said, I get all this. I know what to do, but how do I stick to it? And this is the piece of keeping the commitment to yourself. And I said, do you go to work every day when you are scheduled to go? And she said, well, yes, I work 5 days a week. I always go. And I said, if you make a date with your friend to have lunch on Saturday at 12:30, will you show up? And she said, yes, I will. And I said, if you show up for work and you show up for your friends, why don't you show up for yourself? And she said, I could show up for myself. And that was it's funny. It's little mind shifts that just help people think differently about how they move in the world.
All right. So let's talk more about your KevinMD articles on intermittent fasting. And it's titled, "Don't Give Up on Intermittent Fasting Just Yet." Now, for those who didn't get a chance to read your article, just walk my audience through it and share the story of why you decided to write it.
So someone from my program who lost over 30 pounds using intermittent fasting as part of her toolbox texted me this article that was in lots of newspapers and said, oh no, intermittent fasting is no good. And I said, well, number one, you lost over 30 pounds. So obviously, it worked for you. And number two, the article shows, and the study was about using a calorie-restricted diet and comparing that with no eating windows and with using intermittent fasting. And I said,
for those who don't know what intermittent fasting is, just to give some context, just briefly define what is that?
Oh, sure. It's choosing an eating window to eat. And sometimes it's as simple as like 12 hours of eating and 12 hours of not eating. A real common one is the 16 hours of fasting and then eating for 8 hours. So a lot of people will skip breakfast and then eat for 8 hours and then again, not eat till the next day. So that's a real common way that people do it.
Okay. And then talk about the study that your client brought up to you.
Yeah. So the study was very well done. They compared people who had a calorie-restricted diet and did intermittent fasting, like an 8-hour eating window, and the people who just calorie restricted all day. What I told my client was, you don't calorie restrict. Calorie restricting is miserable in general, isn't shown to work, is shown to lead to yo-yo dieting. So they asked a question that I don't want the answer to, and that my client did not want the answer to. So that's why I said, don't give up on it yet, because it was a nice study, but I don't want to know the answer to that question, because I never recommend calorie restriction to people.
So if you were to redesign the study, what question would you be asking?
I would look at two groups. One, and I would choose either 2 or 3 meals a day without snacks in between. And I would have those people eat some protein, some fiber, and some healthy fats at each meal, and compare that for all day and that for an eating window, like an 8-hour eating window. Because people in my program will do, if they eat 8 hours, they will either eat 2 or 3 meals with some time in between, but they always have the protein, the fiber, and the healthy fats. And when you calorie restrict, people avoid healthy fats, which are super good for you and also help you feel full so you don't need to eat all day long. And so I think that those 3 healthy things need to be in each meal. So I say you ignore the calories and just eat and stop when you're full.
And taking a step back, in general, what is the role of intermittent fasting in one of your patients' diet plans?
I would say about half the people in my group will use an eating window like 8 hours. Some will even do 4 or 6 hours with 2 meals. And then about half will do a 12-hour eating window, some 11, because there's some research on breast cancer reduction with an 11-hour eating window. And they choose that, and then they just try it and test it out. And you don't even have to do it every day. I have a woman who is a former college tennis player. And so she uses an 8-hour eating window, except on the tennis morning, where she eats 3 meals and doesn't have an eating window because she is doing an extreme amount of sports in the morning. And so she eats in the morning that day.
And in general, what is the data that backs up intermittent fasting?
The data is not great. And what I want to say is it's not strong. Like this study they did with the calorie restriction was very strong. But like I said, they asked a question we don't want to know. So there are a lot of very small studies. And what we really need is a bigger study, because these small studies are great. They show people doing this. People like Joseph Fung, Dr. Joseph Fung, who does a lot with intermittent fasting, has lots of personal small data as well with his clients. I have found it to be really powerful with my clients, but these are small groups. And so it would be lovely to have a big study to really show everyone how it works and get a little more data on how best to make it work.
And if someone was interested in starting intermittent fasting or an eating window as part of their diet plan for the first time, how would you advise that person?
I would advise first be really open and curious that you're going to experiment, so that you don't get mad at yourself if it doesn't work, or if you have a crummy day with it, then you just are like, well, I didn't like that. I'm going to either try it again the same way, or I'm going to do it differently. And then I would say a good way to start too is to go to 3 meals and no snacks first, because you're going to need some time between. It makes it easier so you're not sitting there during your fasting window going, I want to eat. You don't have as many cravings. Then I would say, figure out if you like breakfast. Like if you think, I'm actually hungry in the mornings, then go with a eating window like a 12-hour and eat 3 meals. If you get up in the morning and you think, you know what, I could take or leave breakfast, then have your first meal later. Pick an 8-hour eating window. You can pick any time you want, because there is no great data on the exact hours. And so try that. Also, you don't have to do it every day. Look at a day and say, this would be a great day. It works well with me. I'm super busy that morning and I'm going to get so much done at work, or so much done with my kids. Wednesdays are the day. And then try it on Wednesdays and see what you think. And then if you like it, then try it on some other days as well. So really be open, see what you think, try some things, and go from there.
We're talking to Heather Awat. She's a family physician. Her KevinMD article is titled, "Don't Give Up on Intermittent Fasting Just Yet." Heather, like your background, I'm a primary care physician. I do internal medicine. And as you know, we have 15 minutes in the room with patients with a whole laundry list of things that we need to go over. Obesity and weight loss are extremely important issues. So given your background now with weight loss counseling, what are some of the highest yield things that I can say in the exam room, given the limited time I have with patients?
I would say have them pick one thing to try and try it for a few weeks and see what they like, and have it be something small, whether it's moving from dessert every day to dessert once a week. Or if they are someone who snacks all day, ask them, do you want to have just one snack a day and see what happens? Or just have them come up with something that makes sense to them, that would be a small change that they could turn into a long-term habit if they like it. And help them have that mindset of being open and curious to try something. And because a lot of times we try something new and we put so much weight on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I tried this no snack thing and it's terrible. Oh, I'm a bad person. That doctor doesn't know anything. Help them to say, you're going to do some experiments and see what you like. Because it really takes the pressure off. So one small change, try it for a week or two, see what they think, and then see if that can become a habit then.
And my final question, what are some of your take-home messages that you want to leave with the KevinMD audience?
3 things. Calorie-restricted diets are miserable. So if you're thinking about trying one new and you're not already doing one that you like, don't try it. I think intermittent fasting is definitely worth trying. And there are podcasts like mine that will give you advice about weight loss. Also, every meal, protein, which can be vegetarian or meat, fiber, which is our vegetables, our berries, these things, and healthy fats, some olive oil, some nut butter, avocado. Every meal should have those things, and you will feel better and lose weight naturally.
Heather, thank you so much for sharing your time and insight. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.